Honestly speaking, now you can fly 20 years. It's like monoclass. No need to change something because anyway, we all have the same. So it's about the pilot skills, not about the material we fly. So development slowly stops.
One question that I've been wanting to ask you guys for ages. Why did Spectra and Gambit get banned at one point of time by Civil?
Old story. I almost forget details, but this was one thing why the Gambit didn't break through. I think on the end, we were kicked out because... And then you drift one thermal 20 kilometers like this. You come to 6,000 meters,
Wow.
and then the next 30, 40 kilometer no thermal, just glide. And then again, from 0 up. So it's really, in some cases, really radical. But if you are a good pilot, it's really, it's unforgettable there.
In every industry, giants loom large. The household names that dominate the landscape. But every once in a while, someone comes along who defies the odds. Not a corporation, not a team full of professionals, just one-man army. Or in this case, two. Fueled with passion, grit, and an unshakable vision to carve their own path. And paragliding is no exception. So today, we are diving deep into the story of Valič brothers. Two innovators from Slovenia, a country better known for alpine lakes and fairy tale forests rather than cutting-edge aerospace designs. But after years of honing their craft with industry titans, they finally took a leap of faith to build something entirely on their own. Brand 777 that started redefining on what's possible in paragliding. And this episode isn't just about wings and the wind. It's about what it takes to thrive as an underdog in a sport where innovation is expensive, competition is fierce, and margin for error, well, let's just say the gravity doesn't negotiate, right? So we find out the answer to the question that how do you turn setbacks into breakthroughs when the going gets tough, and what keeps you soaring in such a scenario. So join me for intimate conversation with Aljaž Valič, the elder of the two, and also the co-founder of 777, where we unlock the brand's DNA from their design philosophy to raw, unfiltered struggles behind their triumphs. Over the next 90 minutes, you'll discover a side of Aljaž that probably his closest friends might not even know. So in short, this is your backstage pass to resilience, innovation, and the art of flying against the wind. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone along with them, welcome back to Paragliding Atlas. I'm your host, Aninder Singh, and this is your weekly dose of awesomeness coming back to you as planned. So without further ado, let's dive right in, and I hope you like it. Aljaž Valič, what an absolute honor to finally have you on Paragliding Atlas, man. How are you doing today?
I'm well, yeah. I'm also glad to have meeting with you and to share my thoughts with you and the people listening.
That's so cute to say, Aljaž. Let's dive right in and start with the name of the brand that you are running, Aljaž. A lot of people in the audience have heard the name 007 a number of times in their life, but 777 seems to have its own uniqueness. So what is the essence behind the name 777?
It's quite old story about this, but generally was meaning like 777 or 777 is also some synonym for the luck. So one of our partners, which we established a company together at start, he had this view in his mind, and we take it, and was going nice to the years. And we said sometimes also you need luck in paragliding, but we never really count on it. But we said, why not? And we take this name. So it's not really some big background about this behind, but just more or less like it was nice to hear. And also this luck factor sometimes we need all, I think, in life. So shortly about 777 is just this. Yeah.
Take us back in time, Aljaž. How did this whole idea of starting your own brand begin, and what were the origins of 777? What did the early days of 777 look like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we start with paragliding with my brother. We did a competition before we established our brand. And in the competition scene, we also cooperate with different brands before we start our own brand, 777. So I was beginning, we start with, I don't know, gin company. My brother worked with Niviuk. Then we joined together. We start to work with Niviuk in competition gliders and competition harnesses that times. And then after 10 years of competing, World Cup and World Championship all around the world, we decide that maybe it's time to little more establish at home and maybe start some own company. That was the idea. We have quite deep background already with other brands in establishing production in China, many different production facilities. So we have all background what we need to establish our own brand for producing paragliders. So we have this designing view, we have testing view, but also we have this cooperation in production view because we were a lot in also in big productions. So we have quite overall view what you need to make the paragliding brand. So we decide, and meanwhile we also meet a few more partners which were interesting to invest money and time to the brand. And then we said we give it a try, but it was not easy times, I think. It was not easy to establish the brand. We thought it will be easier. Yeah.
Anything worth having in life is never easy. So I'm glad you guys went ahead with the hard work and we have such an amazing brand in the market now. I'm very curious. I have seen a lot of pilots turning into designers and wanting to try their own thing. How does a journey from a pilot to a designer look like in the sport of paragliding? What do you start with? Which is the direction that you work with if you want to switch from flying paragliders to designing paragliders in our sport?
Yeah, our story with my brother was slightly different. We start really early. We came from aviation family. Our father was a skydiver and also sailplane pilot. And then with like really little kids, we were interested in aviation, dreaming of flying all the time. We started with aero modeling. So we were doing like 15 years from, I don't know, 5 years old. We started with aero modeling. And then we start to design our own aero model planes, especially sailplanes. We were interested in sailing. So we did and design also many sailplane models, quite high performance models. And then we start to fly with sailplanes. This was like we were 15 years old. We start with the sailplanes and also slightly little ultralights. And then at the age, I don't know, 19, we fly in a local aero club and was not so big freedom to fly there. It was, if you want to have some bigger flights and this you were prohibited to do, it was like an army system almost. So that time the paragliders start to pick up with performance and we start to dream about this. So we get one old paraglider and start to learning ourselves alone. And then slowly we come to the paragliding. And from then on, we start to compete quite fast because we already have big base from sailplane flying. And it was quite easy to join these two similar sports. It's just the flying device is different, but the rest theory is the same. So from there on, we started paragliding. And already from beginning, we see many things which could improve. At that time, I don't know, this was 2000, something like this. And we see many things how the paragliding can improve, especially in performance-wise. And we start to play our own. And then slowly we get connected. When we get some competition results, we give some feedback to designers or the owners of the companies, the gliders we're competing with. They see that we have some positive feedbacks and some nice ideas. And there slowly we start to get more and more involved in this. Firstly, we're just little tuning, the handling, the speed bar system. At that time, we were open class competition gliders, so we were really easy to play. And then we see some difference, some modification we did, how this influence in performance and the stability and all this. And then we slightly start to learning specifics of paragliding design. It's similar to, let's say, sailplane or aviation, but on the other side, you have inflatable structure, which are never the same like designing computer, and we start to understand how to work with this, and we come to the position when we start to design our own paragliders, or we help to design for other brands, especially last years before we switch, we work with the Nivuk. So that was the times we learn a lot.
I just want to dive a little bit into the feedback part. When you say that you guys were giving feedback to the manufacturers, do you tell what does an ideal feedback from a test pilot or somebody involved in design process look like? What do you report back to the company that they can work on?
Yeah, I think it's big difference between some just pilot who don't really understand physics and construction behind, and the one is that you understand completely the basic on how you are designing. Another thing, you just saying what you want to have and what is not good. You cooperate about both things. You can just say, okay, I want to have a less pitch or whatever, or you can say, I want to put more tension here in the sail and make less camber on the profile on the top surface that will give me less pitch. One is what you want, and another is how you think you will get it with change in construction. I don't have a lot of experience from test pilots because in 777 I do all the job. So I design the wing. First, I have idea what I want to have. Then I go behind computer, I design the wing, and then I go through all the files that the wing can be built, so in production. And then I receive the wing, I fly the wing, I do maneuvers. So in 777, from designing till the test flying and maneuvers and collapsing and preparing for certification, I do alone. Yeah, it's quite complex process and time consuming. So we don't give so many models out like bigger brands because we are limited in a personals in a company, and we want to make 5 good finalized products, so we focused until it's finished.
That sounds very inspiring, man. As a one-man army, you're taking on all the roles by yourself and still putting out amazing competitive gliders out there. Keep up the good work, I would say.
Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah, sometimes maybe I will like to have more outputs from other pilots, but we don't have a lot of test pilots around me. Some last few years, the Nicole Fedel, it's helping me quite a lot, especially with the smaller sizes wings, because it's really hard to design the wing which is not in your weight scale. So for the lighter wings, it's always good to have some light person which can help you, and it's more than faster finalizing on the smaller size. Yeah. For the bigger size, you can always take ballast and do yourself, but for lower sizes, you cannot cut your leg to reduce the weight.
So help us understand the design from the drawing board to actually having the wing out in the market. What is the timeline that goes on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the timeline, usually the process is around 1 to 2 years on the end minimum. So when you start the model, after half or 1 year, you already start to thinking about replacement of this model. In like all designing process are like this. When the product comes to the serial production, then already you start to think for the new one, designer-wise thinking. First, for sure, in paragliders, as we know, we have the certification classes. Certification puts you in some boxes. You are quite limited with, let's say, if you design basic wing, you are already limited for the aspect ratio. Then for sure, you are also limited with the number of cells in each class. Also, this is because you will not make basic wing with many cells, because first it will be too expensive. And so already the classes puts you in some boxes at beginning. And then it's up to what you want to get out of this box in each class. So if you design a class, you cannot make some special arc or whatever, because you are limited with this rolling stability, which is requested from the beginner classes. So it's many factors, but mostly already the certification put you in some boxes from the start, especially when you have more bigger your knowledge and designing base from the experience you get in a past year.
Okay, I just want to simplify this topic.
Yeah.
So basically, let's talk about Matrix, all right? That is a beginner wing,
Okay.
a brand new technology with the winglets, ENA, easy school wing.
Okay.
So when you as a designer start thinking about Matrix, what was the thought in your head? And if you can just walk our audiences through the process.
The Mavericks was quite interesting design. We started because we didn't have replacement for 8 or 7 years in a 777 for really basic wing for schooling. So requirement was for sure easy takeoff, nice speed stability, easy this flare takeoff flare, so the beginner can nicely pull from the slope. The biggest focus on designing was put on this rolling stability, which many beginner gliders have, because the beginners doesn't have this damping effect, doesn't know how to damp this natural oscillation of the wings. So we put in this a lot of effort and played a lot with different arches, with different canopy, this washout twisting the canopy. And then on the end, I pull from my old database. I have experience with, I flew many different models in the past, and one really was in my background. That was, I don't know, was maybe 15 years ago. One, I think, was UP. One beginner model had like some kills. It was not winglets, but they, some kill really, there were two kills in was a canopy, and then the two cells were really out, like really big bumps out. And I fly this wing in one acro competition because we were, I think I was a reunion, and we were there for cross country, but they gave me this wing to say, you try do some acros. So I take this wing, and immediately after takeoff, I was really surprised how it flew like on the rails. It doesn't have any rolling. I keep in my mind when I designed the Matrix, I remember, okay, this glider have these big little two kills like stabilizers on the top of the surface and really stabilize the wing in this rolling moment. And also the same time, I think also ozone, it came out with again, put the winglets out. It was really the same time when I think about this, the ozone, I think they put the first wing. I don't know which one was with the winglets. I think was Photon or maybe this beginner there wing. And
I think you're talking about Photon as well. Yeah, Photon.
And then I said, I need to try also with winglet. And I just cut through all the wing tips of one wing and put it on the one sample of the Matrix. And it right from the immediately, I put these ears on, the winglets on. It was just wingtip cut, nothing special. It works. I took off and the wing was like on the rails. I said, okay, that's it. And then, okay, I make the new prototype with the winglets. I play with the shape of the winglet, with the angles right and this, and it really worked. After that, it was simple. No, this movement after takeoff, really like on the rails, but also increased instability in spiral dives. So before was always a problem, the spiral dive stability, because the glider have tendency to lock in if you don't have really flat arc. When you go to more circular arc, you have this lock in spiral. So these years change really many things. So that was the basic story, how the metrics came with the years, and all ideas we pull out from the past, what I experienced with different wings. We are all learning, sometimes you see in the concurrence what they put and you already put in your bank and okay, now I know why they put. And so, we all cooperate. It's like humans. One make one thing, another make another thing, and we all join all the best thing in a product. So it's, evolution, how to say it.
I completely agree, because there's a saying that great minds think alike. If there are two good designers, they're likely to have similar thoughts when it comes to enhancing performance and safety in the sport of paragliding. But you're talking about a very interesting topic, Aljaž, and winglets are something that have just come back with very strong force and have basically exploded in the market once again. Every new release we see from almost all the leading brands has got winglets incorporated in them. So, to the audience members who are basically having no clue of what winglets are. Could you please tell us a little bit about winglets and why they are such a big fad these days?
Yeah. Mostly all people we remember winglets from advanced use it. Their use, or let's say how I understand their use, was mostly they told that they reduce the induced drag on the end of the wings. So you on the end of the on the wingtips you have pressure differences from upper and bottom surface. This makes on the end this vortice induced drag. And as I understand, they were trying to reduce this induced drag with use of these winglets, like the airplanes use it on the wings. But the winglet, like we use, I don't know, in our 777 wings, or I see also Ozone is using same. It's not about the induced drag. It's mostly about spiral issues, for sure. And the secondary for more basic wings or paramotor wings to reduce this rolling instability which we have. If we use the winglet, we can shift. With normal canopy, if we don't use winglet, we are forced to not use the natural arcs. So natural arc is how the load is distributed and how you get the canopy the most compact, because you produce lift in this direction but also sideways. So you have more like circular arcs. But these arcs have quite strong tendency to lock in the spiral. This is one big problem for certification. Another big problem is this: they have quite this rolling tendency because the shape is quite constant. So it's like you have natural rolling. It doesn't work like damper. If you go to more like these shapes, then you have more damping. But when you go to these natural circular or ellipsoid shapes, you have almost no damping in this rolling motion. So when you add wingtips, you can have really nice pressurized compact canopy, but with a wingtip, it works like damper. So in this rolling motion is damped because this wingtip have some surface, and when you want to move in this direction, the wingtip produce the drag and it's dampening these oscillations. And also for the spiral terrain, it helps because you have different speeds in outside tip and inside tip. So you have little asymmetric, and also how you make these angles of the wingtips is also quite interesting. With this all setting, you can also have better exit in a spirals or prevent to have stable spirals, which usually without wingtips cannot perform unstable spiral. They do really stable spiral, so you get lock in. So let's say these are two big pluses to use winglets, but also you get, for sure, you are penalized with the drag. But then if you say, okay, when I go on speed bar without winglet, my wing is all the time slightly oscillating. And when I put winglet, my wing is stable and goes like straight like on the rails. So also this is oscillation, it gives you less efficiency. So it's not always just laboratorical coefficient of drag, you have to keep all together how is in ELL. So in real air, if your wing is all the time like this doing, and you need to constantly correcting it, you are also making a lot of drag issues and you're losing performance. So on the end, I think if you have stable canopy, even if the winglets produce, let's say, slightly more drag in theory, on the end you have similar or even better performances. So we will see. Maybe in the future I will not put hand in fire, but maybe in high performance classes like CC we will see winglets. Maybe small one, but can be.
I think I want to, this makes it very clear to me. You're saying that modalities like winglets or reflex, all of these technologies are making piloting easier. That means less human input, more stability from the wing itself because of this technology.
Correct, yeah.
But it comes with a cost of performance.
Yeah.
So if you want to simplify it, that is, if there's a pilot who is happy or is capable of giving the input and using less technologies, he will be able to fly much more efficiently and faster.
For sure, it's not only about the canopy on the end, it's about the pilot skills and micro tuning. So in competition gliders, you can afford this because the pilots are super skilled and they are looking for pure performance with their maximum input in controlling the canopy. But in the, let's say, from D class down, you have less experienced pilots who put less and less effort in technique of flying, and they want to get maximum performance out. So in the lower classes, the wingtips improve performance, but for the maybe really comp class, I'm not sure yet. And also, if you see in our 777 wings, we try to minimize this to really find this fine tuning that it works like stabilizer. You can put it really big, it's really easy. You put really big, and then it will make really super stable, but it will make a lot of drag. So it's about of tuning the shape of the wingtip, the right profile of the wingtip, the position where to put it, and also the angles, how to orientate it to airflow to get what you want from it. So it's many factors, yeah. So it's like fine tuning and polishing.
The reason I'm smiling is that this is so interesting because let's talk about two of the most popular two-liner C gliders, or maybe even three. Most selling two-liner C classes are Photon, Arctic, and I'm forgetting the Gin. What is it, Bonanza?
Bonanza, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so Bonanza has a wave leading edge, which cuts the air in a whole different manner. Photon has wingtips, which of course has added drag. And then Arctic is just pure simple wing. But all of they outcompete each other. So what I'm trying to understand is the performance gain or ease of handling very negligible. And ultimately, it is literally down to the pilot who's under the wing. And all of this is marketing, or is there something that should be paid attention to these technologies as well?
Yeah, for sure. Every technology has some background. It makes differences. But to prove these differences in reality, it's really difficult. We know from our developing in the past how many comparison flights you need to make with the same equipment to see little gain or difference. If in the competition, two pilots are flying, one with Gin, one with, I don't know, with Photon, let's say, and one with Bonanza, if they are, it's difficult to say it's about the performance of these two wings, or it's just because of style of flying, how he's correcting micro disruption in the air, how he is balancing the lifts, how he is balancing the sinks, how he's optimizing his speed with the brake, and also it's many factors. So pilots can make much bigger mistakes and worsening the performance of the wing, like designer can improve it with really tuning and hard work. So on the end, pilots makes much more than the little designing steps. But if you put, let's say, one pilot on this wing and on another wing, and his style of flying is same, then he can easily notice. We are gaining performance and we are gaining all, but people on the end makes how the wings fly also quite a lot, especially if they are not experienced, how they hold hands, how they go in transition. Even if you fly like this in transition or you fly without hand, it's not safety, but it's huge difference. It's almost one class difference. So it's when we fly, it's complex. It's not only the wing. It's how you wear, what is your harness, how is your harness position. It's all one unique system on the end, which makes performance. So it's canopy, it's you, it's harness, it's your gloves, it's your hand position, it's everything. It's all factors which meant total performance on the end. So it's complex things.
Wow, man. I had a hunch that this was true, but thank you so much for saying it honestly. I think more people need to talk about this because we often get sucked into the marketing and all the fancy images that we see on social media and everywhere else where brands expose us to them. But a lot of it does come down to such small nitty-gritties, which eventually make a difference. But if you allow me, Aljaž, and I know that this is one of your competitors, and it's okay if you don't want to speak about it. We can cut it out of the show later on. But why does Enzo 3 get the most popularity, man?
Gambit is a pretty speedy wing. The Jin is a pretty fast wing as well. X1 is also fairly competitive, but why is Enzo just sticking onto the top? What's your personal opinion on this?
Yeah, lately I'm not super into this competition scene because I have to focus more on the products which we live for. But years ago, yeah, for sure, if the most of people fly it, for sure, it's some reason behind. So that's for sure. One is simplicity of use for performance you get out of it. This is for sure. I didn't try all the competition wings, but I flew Enzo in the past. I tried, and for sure for the requirements it asks from the pilot, so difficulty to fly it and the performance you get out of it, it's really good balance. So you can focus not only on flying the wing but also on the tactic. This is one reason I can say it's quite easy to fly. Let's say if I give parallelly to our Gambit, which for sure it's pretty sure it's more demanding wing to fly. My personal experience from 4 or 5 years ago when we flew it, do some competition with the Gambit, comparison with other wings, for sure the climbing was better than all in the class that time. It was much better in climbing. But the one problem why we didn't really kick out with the Gambit in more masses is because maybe we are a small company. Second is for sure it was more demanding to fly. Price was quite high because it was more complex wing. But one also factor is also few other pilots flew it and they all said I was always the highest and I always control the others. If you are only one, if you have, I don't know, 60 wings which climb at the same level, and then you are in the World Cup, only one with the wing which you climb better. So what is on the end? Every time you pops out, but if is this in beginning of the race, you need to wait because you cannot go in front. So until you have, I don't know, critical mass of the wings which climbs better. Let's say if we will have in the World Cup 20 Gambits, which will all 20 will go up, then it will make difference in competition because those 20 pilots then can pull and fly alone in front. But if you are alone, you will not change the style of the race. But when you have 20 or 30 wings which climb better or which are faster, then you will change the flow of the race. Because the race is not about one man. It's like cycling. Cross-country races, old style, 15 years ago or 20 years ago when I was racing a lot, you can afford to pull from beginning and solo all the race. But now all the pilots are super technical, super good. It's all other sports in really high level. So you cannot do solo 100 kilometers like we did 15, 20 years ago. So you need critical mass of the wings, which climbs better, let's say 20. Then people will start to think, okay, now Enzo is losing climb, we need to change something. So Ozon will have to do something. But until you have 50, 60, 70 same wings, then you can fly, honestly speaking, now you can fly 20 years. It's like monoclass. No need to change something because anyway, we all have the same. So it's about the pilot skills, not about the material we fly. So development slowly stops. That's reality in this scene now. As we see, Enzo, last 6-7 years, they do fine tunings which are allowed inside or doesn't matter. No big change last 6-7 years. It's just small tunings. That's reality of it. And one reason is because we stop prototypes. We are not allowed to fly prototypes in beginning, in past. The development was much faster because it was allowed to fly with prototypes. So we always make something new. But now it's all stacked. It's almost serial class. Yeah. You make wing, you have it 4 or 5 years, and then you make another one. And you need to have it 5-6 years because it's a lot of money invest in production, in development, and also in certification. So you cannot change this model every 1 year because it's too much money in certification and all. So you need to re-win this money that you can make new model. So certification and all standardization for sure slow down the development, but also improves the safety. So we need to play with these two balances. That's reality. That's my
I have a suggestion for the prototype problem. Why don't any manufacturer takes his proto to the competition site, takes off as a free flyer, and still flies with the gaggle, puts the task in his instruments, and sees how it gets without being a part of the competition officially?
Yeah, this you can do for sure. Maybe they don't allow you in competition. Sometimes they don't allow you even to take off. But yeah, it was done in the past already. This, and they still do. But for sure, yeah, it's if you go to competition, you want to have also some result. Many times when we have competition in my place, I fly beside the people competing with them, but not participating, just to evaluate. Competitions are the best to evaluate the performance of the flying device because you have big bank of the people and you can compare to this one. So you don't see only to one Enzo, you see to 10 Enzo. So if one people is holding like this hand, another for sure is flying more aero. So in I don't know, in 5 hours of flying, you can average all the impressions you have and you had the right impression. If you only fly with one guy on the slope behind the house all day, it's not the same like you fly with 20 different people and you compare to the all. Then you have better final observation and evaluation. So the competition are the best to compare, that's for sure. And all they try their best.
Indeed, indeed. Thanks for your honesty. It's very kind of you to explain it in such a insightful manner, and I'm just happy.
Yeah. Sorry, this is reality. It's not about kindness. This is reality. It's nothing to hide.
But it's just very hard to be brutally honest in today's world, and not a lot of people have the strength to say the truth. That's why I think not only our industry, but generally the world needs more people like you who are able to share their unfiltered opinion from the bottom of their heart. But I've been very curious about one thing, Aljaž. First of all, let me put it to rest. Gambit is such a cool wing. If a pilot is ready to put in the work, then the wing will deliver. Simple as that. Let's agree on that. That all of the wings which are easier to fly, be it with technologies, with additional winglets, rust or like the reflex or whatever it is, they will be easier to fly, but they will compromise on the performance. So any wing which is harder to fly is compromising less on the performance. So the bottom line is, if the pilot is willing to put in the work, then he will put in the performance.
Yeah, that's sure. But anyway, it's really about the balance. And like I say about the Enzo, I think they have really nice balance. And this is fruit of their hard work for sure. A lot of pilots in-house which are competing a lot and have chance to compete a lot, and then on the end they get this fruit out. For sure, it's not lottery, it's hard work, believe me.
Oh man, I love your respect that you're giving to your competitor.
That's head down for the work they do.
Beautiful. One question that I've been wanting to ask you guys for ages: why did Spectra and Gambit get banned at one point of time by Civil?
Ooh, old story. I almost forget details, but this was one thing why the Gambit didn't break through. I think on the end, we were kicked out because all other things were not clear. They want to kick us out firstly with, I think was some load test. I don't know. I forget already. But the last thing, because all these things failed because they were not real. And also others, like Ozone, they have problems with the load test that time. But then when the CVIL see this, they shut down. But the last thing, when they kicked us out, was we were only there in 2 pieces. And they said they should be available to all the pilots. We put this wing out just a few days before, and we were only able to complete 2 pieces. And 2 our pilots from Slovenia were there in a team. And the last days, they were refused to fly. They said you cannot. They were prohibited to fly with the Gambit. And then they need to pull out their old wings and fly with their old wings. So that time we were really pissed on all the system about SIVL and many guys there just pretending their position and their company position. And we make some enemies, but it was really unfair to our company. So let's say that time the giants push little company down and they joined the forces together. big brands. I will not tell the names, but we know all which brands they were. So that was not nice from them.
It's
But
just
they are
sad, man.
Yeah, it's small sport, and we thought also that the people are really honest and they pretend like you see them, but then we see real faces, and that time we closed many doors with the guys which we believe before that they are like they show, but we see that they are not in reality. But that's the world we are living.
I tell you what, no matter what, karma catches up with all of us, man. I believe in that, and I think that is how the world actually goes around.
Yeah,
You
but
get what you put in the universe.
yeah, maybe long term. In short term, doesn't look like this. Otherwise, the world will turning differently. but yeah, but honestly speaking, with that time, we really lost motivation because of the politics and all these games behind this, the CC, and we also little lose motivation to invest more like we would like to invest in this field. So after that, we didn't really focus anymore on the CC. It's pity for us. It's pity maybe for the world. But yeah, that time we little pull back because we see that's all about the politics, and we are not good in politics, and we get really unmotivated, yeah, to play in this field.
Did any one of them unofficially say that this shouldn't have happened at any point in time later on in life?
But there were many polemics about this, many mails we have, but on the end, if you are big, you can play a lot. If you are small, you cannot. That's reality of the game. And we were never in this committee, in CCC committee like others, all the brands, because we don't play with the politics. I prefer to design and focus there.
Let's switch to the ENB class, man. Rook 4 has been raving reviews all across the paragliding planet. What is this sensation of a wing all about? Please tell our listeners about it, and what is the amount of R&D that has Rook 4 getting so many positive reviews across various platforms?
Yeah, our Rook is, let's say, the main riding horse of the company, of the 777, is also the best-selling product from the 777 gliders. And we put usually most focus in this wing. Yeah, from the preceder Rook 3, we have the certain goals to improve. The first was on Rook 3, we had not the best launching takeoff. It was little delayed due to smaller openings and different designs. So this was one goal, to improve this, the takeoff, simplify takeoff, make it lighter. Then the second was to make glider even more stable in the air, especially with the speed bar, and to make it easy to fly with the speed bar, to improve the BC system. So actually the Rook 4 is completely new wing compared to the Rook 3. I think only the cell number is the same, but all the rest is changed. The profile is changed. Sail tensions are changed. The most biggest changes are the new arc, which is coming due to use of the winglets on the wing. So we were allowed to use a bigger arch, which makes canopy more compact, makes it nice in thermaling. It's like you can position every bank you want in a turn, because this circular shape makes really every position a turn makes like stable. So in every position you go, it sits there. It's not just like this or like this. It's really fine tuning of the bank in a turn with the higher arcs. Then one big focus was to reduce overall weight of the canopy. So we start to use lighter materials. We use the new MJ 32 grams on the top, and the bottom is with the Porsche light. And also inside we have some hybrid between Porsche hard normal and the Porsche 32 grams. It was hard work optimizing the perforation in every rib, in every in every diagonal rib, to make really light canopy, really nice internal inflation, how the air travel inside the canopy. So it's really big optimization in the cross holes inside. These people usually don't see, but it's a lot of hours just how to optimize all these holes inside in the ribs and everywhere. A lot of work when you design the wing. Yeah. So this basically this, and also new riser system, with BC, which run really smoothly over the pulleys. And this is basically what was.
I want to talk a little bit about the internal structure of a wing, because a lot of brands stress on this. The internal structure is all about distributing air and maintaining the pressure in the canopy. Is that correct?
Firstly, internal construction is giving shape to the wing. So it's transferring pilot loads from the lines to the canopy. And as all we know, we have supported ribs and unsupported ribs. So supported ribs is where the lines is connected to the rib. And this force then is distributed from the bottom, where the line is connected, to the top, where most of the lift is produced. So it's all about how these forces are distributing, and according to these force vectors, how they go, you play how you put the cross holes in the ribs. So in the load, speaking about loading ribs now, so the ribs which have lines connected. So if a line is connected, then the vector goes of the force to the top surface in some conical shape. And so in between this, you need to place the holes that you don't make deformation in the ribs. So how you place the holes is really important. How you place it in the supported ribs. Unsupported ribs are the ribs which have no line connections. These ribs are just carrying the pure ram air pressure inside. So we have ram air pressure, and the canopy without ribs will go to the ball in physics. So all these ribs are carrying, unloaded ribs are carrying just these pressure loads. So this you can play again with different shapes of the cross holes inside. So it's all about this optimization, where the loads are, where you have just pressure loads, and how you design the holes and which material you use. If you use hard Porsche 40, you can put more holes. When you go down to the light 27 gram, because it's more stretchy, you have to again redesign the holes. So it's more you go to into the limits of the material, more precise you are. And one also important factor is production. In 777, all our wings, from beginning, we started the 777 brand. We were maybe one of the first. All our internal construction is cut by laser. So we can play really detailed with the cross holes in the ribs. We can make really small one. We can really optimize it everywhere, but we need to use laser. So all our wings are, from beginner wing till the high performance wings, are all cut with laser. It increase the production cost, but it give you quality, and it give you this nice fine tuning with the cross spots you can play. So I think we are one, or maybe one of the only brands which use laser cut for the ribs in every model. And for sure, it gives you also the precision of the design.
How does internal design structuring look like from a designer's perspective?
Yeah, from designing perspective is like I pointed before. First, you have specifics which you cannot avoid. And then you have to play inside this performance of material and deformation of material. If you make too much cross spots, you will make ugly shape of the paraglide. You have too much deformation. So you will start to lose. So it's all in paragliding, it's always fine balance of many things. It's nothing black or white. It's always like one, I don't know, like symphony. All have to fit in a right parameter. If you go over this parameter, you will lose in a other aspect. So it's a lot about your experience like designer. For sure, every designer make fails, but you are learning for these fails. Sometimes you are pushing the limit, you go over the limit, and okay, it's hot, I need to pull back. I was too optimistic here. So you put in your bank, you remember it, next time you improve it. It's evolution. Let's say we can make the same paragliders material-wise, almost, if we avoid super lightweight wings like we have now. But the paragliders like we fly now, we could fly 25 years ago. Same performance, same designing. It's just evolution in human mind and your experience bank. It was limitation in software. I completely agree. This was big limitation. but all the rest materials, more or less, they were the same. We can build, Ozone, it can build Enzo 20 years ago because materials were same. So it's mostly evolution, designer evolution, and the software evolution, which bring us here now. How in paragliding really has weight.
Makes sense. So next time a consumer goes out and buys wings, see what the design philosophy of a designer is. And then, because that is eventually what has gone in. And that is actually the reason why Paragliding Atlas exists. And we do episodes like this to bring out designers.
I always say to our customers or the pilots who want to buy our wings, I'm always honest. I say, try the wing. I can tell you everything, but you need to try it and you need to like it. And then you buy it. Some pilots like steerable wings. Some pilots like more tamed, tuned, more stable wings. It's all about we are different pilots. That's why also we have more brands. Otherwise, on the end, can be only one brand. But every designer have his personal touch, have his personal focus on things which think they are important. Another designer have different. And so different designers found their different customers, or let's say it like this. Then if you're a big brand, it's different, but every brand has some nice tunings and specifics in every class.
Let's say if your kids come to you for suggestion when they grow up and if they want to fly paragliders as well, what are the 3 most important things that you will tell them before they choose a wing from a designer's perspective?
Firstly, for sure, you need to try the wing if it suits you. Then for sure, it's feedback which you need to take with certain reserve, but it's really important, of the community. So if it's new wing, it's difficult to decide. Usually you see the real value of the wing after 1 year, I will say. Before can be marketing, can be the, let's say, team pilots and this, which bring something. But on the end, when it gets to the mass of the people, it's about this community feedback. So not the pilots who are involved with the company, but also independent pilots. This is then the real value of the product. This is how I see it. So I would say fly, test it. If the wing is already on the market for certain time, look for this community feedback. And then the third thing also important is the brand, for sure. So all these 3 factors should fulfill and balance, and then you decide.
Love it, man. Thanks for simplifying it for everybody listening out there. Before we move on to next topic, I forgot on one very important aspect of the Rook 4. You guys have written very specifically about Magic's Pro lines, which are from Edelrid. Edelrid is a manufacturer usually known for its carabiner, but lines are probably a new offering for them. So what are these Magic Pro lines all about, and how are they making Rook 4 more awesome than the other gliders in E and B category?
Actually, Edelrid is with the lines and the 8000, 7000 series. It's already 20 years on the market. Maybe it's not well known in lower classes, but we were using competition glider, those lines 20 years plus.
I could have been mistaken. I was not aware. I thought it was just a carabiner brand, but thank you for correcting me.
This, and also I need to point it out, when we started the 777 brand, we decide on the Rook 1 to use the same lines like we use now on the Rook 4, just 7000 series that time. And we were, with the Rook 1, in many aspects, we were quite too fast or in front of the market. So we put something out and was big shock from others because people were not used of these lines. They were used these lines just in competition, but after our experience, this is for sure the most stable geometry for the glider. Also, it's really abrasive resistant because sleeve lines can be easily cut when you ground handling. We put these lines out, the Rook 1 with these lines out, and all the market and the customers were shocked when they received it. They said, "Oh, how is impossible? How you put these lines on this wing?" And now after 15 years or 13 years, we see we are getting competition lines into this class. Yeah. So I think it's nothing special, those lines anymore. Also, other brands, they are using almost still the bottom calories. Ozone is also using a lot at the 8000 series in the serial class wings now. So it's really standard now, I think, about the lines.
Fair enough. Small things which are included in the risers, let's say pulleys used in the speed system or the mylons or double coated, single coated. How much of these accessories make a difference when it comes to enhancing performance? Are they more or less equally the same because they are not really interacting with the elements of the air that openly as the other parts of paraglider are? What's your thought on accessories that are being used?
Yeah, it's simpler. It's quite simple to understand. Everything what has connection with the moving air, it has influence in overall performance of the paraglider on the end. If it's just small carabiner, if it's 30 millimeter or if it's 20 millimeter one or it's 45, again, it has some influence. Everything on the end is like I said, the paraglider it's like some symphony when you put it together in a song. So it's about all the pieces when you put to one monolith, and this makes performance on the end. So it's just about how much is important to make, I don't know, 30 millimeter carabiner on the beginner wing. Is it really sensible to put it, or is better to put it 40 millimeter because pilots which are not used to fly have better feeling when they hold something that it's a little bigger in the hands. It's all about in which class what you put and why you put it. All makes some reason why it's like this in A class, why you have thicker risers, and why in a competition class you have almost nothing or really thin.
I was curious, how does a consumer do their research in this accessory choice? Because accessories, there's not enough information about accessories on internet. So how do you decide?
You mean accessory like harnesses, or the accessory on the paraglider, which is in the basic paraglider?
The paragliders, such as the pulleys, the mylons, and those kind of things.
Yeah, when we started the 777, we started in this in mind. Our philosophy, our idea was to maximize performance in every class. So when we put it Rook 1 out, we tried to maximize it what was possible from our knowledge, but also from material. That time when we put Rook, we put ball bearing pulling everywhere on the the risers. We put the best lines on it. We put the best plastic for reinforcing inside what we have that time. We really make sophisticated this reef brake system on the trailing edge. Rook 1 was really equipped with competition technology when we put it out. And that was our motto in every class when in 777, we really try to give best what is possible to the pilots. So we don't reduce the pulley quality when we make it. We try to give the pilots the best in every class. Also about the accessories. We put high quality in every aspect, from lower class till the highest class. So yeah, this is because we are like this, we want to have the best what is possible in each class. It's like our philosophy.
I think that's the beauty of working or trying to use the brands which are smaller team owned, because people like you are in it purely for the sake of passion.
Yeah.
And when it comes to passion, there's no cost cutting or compromise on the quality. So that is quite a big comfort customers can place in small brands like these when they go out and make their choices.
We are a small brand for sure, and I don't have a manager telling me, no, we will not put this, it's too expensive. I decide what I like, I put. Maybe we pay the price business-wise on the end, but I like to give people what is the best, what I think is the best. This is our philosophy and how our brand is running. Maybe it's not best economical way for the company, but I want to give the best possible to the customers.
Tell me one thing, Ali. How do you think when you know that you and your team have been responsible for giving so many people the happiness for the art of flight that brings in their life? Because I believe 777 has been around for quite some time. It's an incredible achievement to make people fly. How do you look back on that?
Every designer or company or the team of the company is happy when receive the feedback from the ground, from the playfield, what you are producing. So for sure, it's you really feel good when you see that your work it gave the right juice to the customers where they buy it. So this is for sure the biggest award as you can get, like designer or the company. Happy people around the world flying your products. That's really awardable.
Another question comes to my mind because there are obviously two sides to every coin. How do you handle criticism, if any? Because nobody is perfect. Everybody can make mistakes and slip up. So how does the room for improvement look like in a life of a designer like yourself?
From every mistake or a problem, you learn something. You have to be realistic about it, not hide it. And you need to learn from it and try to avoid it in the future. So if you have certain problems, you can try to solve it if possible in serial production, or you remember it and solve it for the future of the models or your overall brand. So sure, always you have up and downs, but sometimes also you have problems which which are out of your, because we are small brand, we don't run our product. We have big production. We are producing in a big facility where is the most of the big players also producing, and some problems or many of the problems is coming from the, let's say, can be just basic material problems. One is design problem. This is easy to solve because you learn and you try to improve. I don't know, they said your hook is not take off well, or they said, I don't know, something, and you remember, you go again behind computer, you see why, you try to change it, you make prototypes to change it, and for the new model, you have a resolution of this problem. But variation can be in materials, it can be in the canopies, it can be in the lines. You are not designing the material, you are not designing the lines. You are just deciding which lines you use. So if you have problems constantly with one material, then after 1 or 2 years, you said, okay, these guys, they have some problems and I cannot change it because I'm not designing the material. So you start thinking for the new model that you will change the material because this one is not constant enough or something like this. So paragliding designer, you are not designing the material or the lines. So you can choose it, what you will choose, or you'll try to choose the best, but always it can be variation and problems. But designer mistakes, these are the most easy to learn and to avoid it in the future. But all the rest, which are coming from the other production, there is more difficult and you feel hopeless sometimes because you are just one fish in a big pond.
I can imagine that's a tough place to be.
Yeah.
When it's beyond your control.
If we just say the cloth material for the canopy, on the end we have two production which are mostly used. Is Porsche, it's Domenico, and now is MJ, Myung-Jing from Korea. They produce for all the brands. So sometimes Ozone they had bad roll, sometimes we have bad roll, and if it's accidentally sneak to the all the checking phase and it comes in production, then you will have some maybe gliders which have some issues. But this we try to eliminate. You try to have the quality control in productions and all this, but always error. Sometimes also the big commercial planes, they fell down because the human errors or material errors is complex, many factors, and sometimes mistakes happen. You need to learn from them and try to improve for the future and to be better for the whole sport on the end.
Like a question comes to my mind when it comes to making commercial sense. So let's say designers have always complained about lack of money that they get for their effort. That's no rocket science. People put in way more effort and then they don't get rated equally. Customers keep on saying that the sport is getting more expensive by the day.
Yeah.
So when I look at the supply chain, it is the raw material manufacturers, as you said, MJ, Domenico, Porsche, which supplies to factories like Aerodynamics and the one in Thailand and whatever in China, like one who manufactures for third parties or for specific own companies.
Yeah.
And then that gets distributed into small brands like yours, which eventually sells to the final customer. Like, who in this supply chain is making the most money? Because everybody is complaining that there's not enough money in this sport. Yet it is so expensive.
Yeah. Actually, money comes from the numbers. If you are a small company, you will never make money. If you are a big company, you will make more. This is reality in many sports, not only in paragliding or in all industry. The smaller you are, the harder is to survive, or you need to be even more enthusiastic and have bad salary and still good work. That's reality in our sport. I have this company not because of the money. I have it because of the passion and the life I like to live. If every other work I will go to work, I will have better money with my knowledge. That I'm pretty 100% sure. But I like lifestyle, and on the end, I like you work 1 year, then you make something, you put it in a backpack, you go in the mountain, you pull and you fly, and you say, this is also the salary. You fly and you said, this I make, and you enjoy and you fly. On the end, you live only one. You don't live for the money. You live for the enjoyment, for the pleasure, for the passion. That's my point of view.
Said Aljaž said, I hope more people can find the strength, me including, to believe in this and stick to it no matter how hard it gets. Keep up the hard work. As we are reaching the end of the show, there's one topic I've been curious about when it comes to 777. What's your take on two-liner technology? Now we have a whole new class of two-liners exploding in the paragliding scene. When is the next big thing coming from you guys, and what are your thoughts on it?
For sure, it's obvious and it's pretty clear that this class it's hold well and will stay, and it has many reasons why. And also, we are focusing and working. We make now several prototypes in the last 2 years, yeah, and we are playing quite a lot, but still not there. I'm not super happy yet. So for sure, if we will put it out, we want to put it out that we will be happy about it, not just frequent in the market. That's our philosophy. So we are still playing. The goal was to finish this year, but we cannot promise anything because we are a small company and focusing on the evolution of the new Knight, the Knight 3. This is in the low, mid, B class. We are working on these two projects and we are quite limited with the test pilots, the new Queen, or I don't know what will be the name. Also is the question with a small company like us, we will keep only 1C. It will be only two-liner for the future, or we will keep it two-liner and three-liner because we cannot afford so many models like bigger companies. We need to rethink this. Two-liner in a C class takes a lot of pilots. The three-liners are really, or they should step one down to make really simple three-liner in a C class, which is almost B. The two-liners are almost D class. So you don't have a big space in a C class nowadays. So for the small company, it's really difficult to have two models in a C class. I don't know, Classic Queen, we have now three-liner, which is flying fine, but for sure you cannot compete with two-liner. This is, we all know. We will not make but it's still small class to have two models in it. Bigger brands, they can afford. Small brand, we are on the question of what to do. Or we make two models in the C, or we just make two-liner and the rest is already Rook, like it is now.
Yeah. I was actually wondering because let's say even 5 years ago, before the B class started exploding, because B was just low B for quite a long time, and then people used to jump to three-liner C. So let's say 5-10 years ago, upgrading wings was so much more easier. That you come out of a school, you either go for an A wing or a low B wing, and then you fly that for like good 200-300 hours. You get your handling, become comfortable in turbulent air, and then you switch to a three-liner. You're pushing your limits to ENC three-liner. That is, you're pushing your limits, and then you fly that for 200-300 hours. Then you go to a two-liner. So there was a very embedded safety factor in the progression for every pilot.
Yeah.
And now you have like low A, high A, low B, mid B, high B. Jesus, man, it's endless choices. How do you even decide?
Yeah, but this is for sure for the customer. This is big plus. So for sure, for the big companies, this is game to play. Yeah? But if you are more limited company, smaller budget, then you need to focus and decide. You cannot follow the biggest. You need to focus where you will put your knowledge, your expertise, and maybe just offer there something really good, finished, unique, not 10 or 20 different models. So if you are a one man on the end in the computer and testing and all, you need to focus and sometimes do like this and said, no, I will try to do just this and try to finish this. And I will not look what all others do. So if you are in position like we are, you need to make focus and do this the best or what you can do the best and the rest leave it to the others or biggers. Yeah.
No, but I'm not sure if this game is healthy to play or not, because there is something known as decision paralysis that a human brain experiences. Decision paralysis is when you're given too many choices in modern day capitalist society. When that happens, you tend to pick, okay, if you get lucky and if you're super serious, you will make the best choice for yourself. But often, human brain gets super confused when there are endless choices, and there is a possibility that you end up making a wrong choice.
If you have too many things to evaluate, it's difficult to get final result. That's for sure. Yeah. So
the reason why I'm saying this is if a customer is coming straight out of school, somebody is saying that a high B is for me, not knowing how that high B is going to react out of the school. And then with the two-liner Cs coming in, maybe people will jump to two-liners much quicker than they should. So is this really helping the industry, or is this actually taking us further back?
Honestly speaking, if you are first in some field, you are always taking short-time fruit. And then reality comes behind. So for sure, I'm also afraid some people, for sure, I see many also pilots in my neighborhood. Some they have already accidents and this. You don't see this right after it. So it always some delay. So if you put, I don't know, new model two-liner out, for sure, beginning you will sell first 1 year or two, you will sell well. And then lately you will see what is reality. It's not for everyone, that's for sure. Two-liner, it's super compact wing. It's super nice to fly if you understand how it works and how you fly it. Otherwise, you think it's super stable, but when you come to one moment when it collapses, the collapse is quite different than on the three-liner. That we all know who the pilots who are testing and who do maneuvers, we know how it's reaction on three-liner or how is reaction reality in two-liner. But people see this stability, which exactly stability, so they go even in worse air, and when the collapse came, it's like big surprise because they think it cannot happen, but it can happen every time. For sure, gliders will always collapse, but how they collapse is another question. Some people understand this and they don't push the same limit like they push on the three-liner. Some people don't understand and they get surprised and they have accidents, and that's we cannot avoid. I think this is also about your self evaluation. But for sure, if you have possibility to buy and you are betting your evaluation, you can buy it, like you said. So always are pluses and minuses in every design.
I think somehow having too much technology and too much R&D does go a little bit towards what is that theory of natural selection, which is survival of the fittest. Darwinism eventually wins, all I'm trying to say. So no matter how many expensive toys you bring up, it still comes down to your own decision making.
This is more about your self, that you are knowing yourself, about the customer. For sure, industry, they can give you every choice, but in the end, you have to be, maybe it's more have to be put to the education of the pilots. It's not only basic exams, but also how to educate the pilot that they are realistically evaluated themselves. And when you are realistically, not by your friend, but yourself, you need to evaluate. I am really able to fly those wings or not. Every time when pilot come to me to ask to buy the wing, or I always ask him what you are flying, you feel confident on this, why you want to change? I'm not just selling the glider. It's somebody asking me. So it's why you want to change the wing or why you want to buy a wing? Because you are overgrown the lower class. You feel that you can go in every meteo condition in this class. Why you want to go to Y class higher? Because tendency nowadays is that my personal, what I see is that mostly the pilots are flying one class to high wings. That's reality for my, I see.
I agree, man. I agree. I completely.
It's the same or even better if they go one class lower on the end of the day.
Let me share this personal thought here. I was flying Arctic for quite a long time, and I was shitting my pants every time I went full bar on that wing, because even a little bit of turbulence, I was like, oh my God, I don't know how two-liner is going to react or how hard it's going to bite. And then I am flying UP Trango X right now, which is almost 3. It still has all the 3 lines in the center part of the canopy. Man, I can go full bar, eyes closed on this wing. It is that comfy. And just the amount of peace it brought in my flying was like, why did I even upgrade to two-liner? The reason why I said this is because marketing eventually does affect every human. And me and you are no different. So if we are being advertised wings, which are looking faster, sexier, we will want to fly them. My question is, are we as an industry failing to provide safe practices out to the audience and just focusing on commercial aspect of it? Because eventually cash is king.
Yeah, can be what is the end is the result. And I think we already seeing little of this result. We are losing community. Less and less people are flying. That I feel here. Like in Slovenia, I have feeling the old pilots are going out. We have many newcomers from the basic courses, but they don't stay in a sport because they don't pay the price the sport request. They don't invest the free time enough to start enjoying the flying. That's the point. Free flying. You need to invest really a lot. You need to be really enthusiastic to start enjoying this sport because it's complex to understand. Mostly people do basic courses. They fly 1-2 years. And even if they live in the dreamland, like in Slovenia here, you have takeoff every 20 kilometers. They still leave the sport because they don't invest enough time to really enjoy the cross-country spirit and the philosophy of the sport.
It's funny and shameful at the same time that we call this free flying, yet it is one of the most expensive forms of flying in human history.
Every year is more, It's pity, but it's like this.
My curiosity stemmed from the fact that recently a German brand came out with an E and B two-liner. And that was eventually going to happen. Are you aware of the paraglider called Lilo X, launched by ProFly?
But it's a big class, you said, but it's not certified, or is certified?
Help me understand. The certification card in front of the paraglider technical details says DHV/LTF, and then it says I.B. So I don't understand what kind of certification is IB. It says small I.
This I don't know also. I first one is you have 2 standards. One is CN, it's European norm, and another is almost same as DHV to sell on the German market, nothing else.
But it says I.B. So it does not say DHV2 or DHV1 or something like that.
It's like big class, or I didn't. First time I heard now about this. Because
do me a favor, man. Just click on the link that I send you in the chat right now.
I will check. This Nessler, Michael Nessler is designer, I see now, EMB. Anyway, the time will tell, I always say on the end. The time will tell if it's the right way or not. For sure, it's possible to make two-liner with little different approach. You can make also two-liner in big class, but question is if it's you really need it there. This is always question.
It's like weed can make you happier, but do you really need weed to make you happy?
I understand what you are pointing out. But usually nowadays the revolution, it doesn't bring you everywhere anymore. In paragliding, it's about small steps. The last revolution was this: the accepting for the certification was the accepting collapsing glides in a C class. I was little surprised they accept it, but okay, doesn't matter. Maybe next year they will accept it, maybe also in a B. I will not say anything. Everything is possible. We are all humans on the end, and it's about the politic on the end. This is out of my hand. I'm just work on what if they pull new standard, I will work according to this. I have no power to change it or motivation. So I try to really avoid the politic. It's not my pleasure. I prefer to do other things in my life.
As long as it rocks your world hard enough, it is a pleasure in my life to bring out all of these information unfiltered, completely honest to the paragliding audiences out there. So I'm going to continue to do that.
Yeah,
And
nice work.
thank you, man. It's quite an honor and a pleasure to have somebody who's so easy to talk to like you. I would like to extend the thanks back to you, but
yeah, I have no boss behind. I can say whatever I think. Maybe sometimes it's not good, but it's me.
that's all we need. Aljaž, I think with that, we have come to the end of the show. But before I let you go, Aljaž, we have a tradition on the show where I request my guests to share one flight with them from their flying career that has stuck with them that they would like to talk about. So if there is that one flight, I and my audience would love to hear it from you, man.
Mm. Yeah, for sure. One flight which stayed in my head is the world record flight, not from the competitions, but from the record hunting in South Africa. When we sat with my brother, this was the free flight discipline, was a distant flight. And this was really nice experience, really radical conditions, height over 6,000 meters, sometimes ground speed over 120 kilometers per hour, and was done in 7 hours and a half. So it was quite fast for the days, for 426 kilometers. The time was 2007, I think, was world record in a distant flight, but was not certified because we flew 426 kilometers, and then we had a convergence zone with a sea breeze effect, with a low ceiling like a fog coming, and high plateau mountains. So we have to fly 20 kilometers minus back. Was just beginning of GPS, and the FIE forget to change the rule. So it was set from takeoff till the landing, not the furthermost point. After this hour claim, they change it. They say apologize to you, but we couldn't get the world record efficiently because of the mistake of the FIE bureaucrats that time. So that time was first my time I get bad experience with politics. And then it continued many times, so that's why I'm avoiding the politics. I don't want to make bad time for other guys like some guys they did for me. But was really amazing flight with the brother. We take off on the winch in 20-minute steps. For the whole flight, 7 hours, we didn't see each other, but on the end, we land at the same place. It was really amazing. After 7 hours and 400 something kilometers, you land in the same field like your flying buddy. It was really life remembering experience for me, and really fast conditions, extreme heights. I think one day I would like to repeat in that style, South African style. It's really hard, fast flying. It's not like Brazil with a low ceiling and many thermals. Here you get thermal from some low sails. We have 50 meters above the ground in 60 per hour wind. It's crazy. And then you drift one thermal 20 kilometers like this. You come to 6,000 meters.
Wow.
And then the next 30, 40 kilometer no thermal, just glide. And then again from zero up. So it's really, in some cases, really radical. But if you are a good pilot, it really, it's unforgettable there. South Africa is really nice place. If you want to fly hard condition, it's place to go. Yeah.
What was your average speed like? That must be like 60 or something.
No, it was, let's say, 7 hours and a half for 400 kilometers. So average was around 50, something like this.
Man, that's insanity.
No, it's really, like I said, ground speed sometimes was over when we were 6,000 meter high, it was ground speed 125 sometimes.
Did you get any collapses in that flight or any kind of turbulence or anything?
Turbulence for sure it was, because when you get low, usually in the flatlands, you have thermals. It's not, you are trying in South Africa, it's a little different style because it's so windy. You have, and quite flatty, not really steep mountains, but usually mountains, they don't give you kickers or big cliffs. Usually you look for big depressions like lakes or river beds. There is isolated air which can overheat. So the wind goes over this depression and it really heats up the air. And then when it kicks up, it's really like strong and big balloon. So usually you are looking for depressions, dry lakes, river beds. It's quite different. But
a thought just came to my mind, like 120 kilometers an hour. And if one side stops flying or there's even a small deflation.
You have inertia, but this is ground speed. Air speed for sure also at 6,000 meters, your true air speed is quite high. If your glider, it flies, I don't know, 50, 60, let's say 60 per hour ground level, there at 60 meters, you can do maybe 10% more. You can do almost 70 per hour because the air is thinner. So your true air speed, not the indicated speed, the true air speed, it's 10% higher or more. For sure.
And no oxygen or none of those kind of things.
I experienced at the beginning, we have only one bottle. So each flight we share, we change. One time I was flying, another time he was flying. And then I had really bad experience the flight before the world record. It was perfect day. I flew 350 kilometers. I came from zero level. It was around 1,000 meters above the ground was plateau. And I make one time climb to 6,000 something without oxygen. And then I get hypoxia. I couldn't get down. I was losing all. I couldn't move hands. My legs were like, the core was working for my body and was still going up. And I had big problem. I need maybe 20 minutes to get down to 3,000 meters. And I was almost like, I couldn't move. I was just flying straight and tried to do collapse to go down, but I couldn't. It was like convergence was just going up, and I said, oh shit. This was really like life-threatening for me. And after that, I said, I don't go without oxygen because it can kill you. For sure.
What basically happens? Your body parts stop moving?
Yeah, so it's like classic hypoxia. I start to lose the vision, the power in hands, the legs were not working. It was just the core of the body still worked, but all the rest was like slowly going out. So it was really not good experience for me, but I learned. There are some rules in aviation and why they are. Usually the rule in aviation is from 3,600 meters, you need to use the oxygen. And for sure, this rule is there for some reason. If you don't believe when you experience. But main reason why I have this hypoxia was I was really gaining 5,000 meters in a shot in 20 minutes. It's just one thermal. So I was not adopting to the height. Slowly, I would just bring there in one thermal. So that's why.
20 minutes you spent in a single thermal.
Yeah.
How many turns, man? That must be like nauseatic for you to keep on turning.
This is one reason why South Africa is special. You really go from 1,000 meters, you can go to 6,000 in just one turn, and you travel maybe 20 kilometers. When you end thermaling 6,000 meters, you almost don't see when you pick up the thermal because you drift so much. I'm still interested why nobody goes again there. For sure, it's quite radical flying. It's not like Brazil, but it's still possible to make some bigger flights there, I believe. But it's only maybe that time we were there 1 month and was one day in this year that was for the world record. So need to have luck. You can do many 300 something, but to do 500, I don't know. I think the biggest flight now in Africa is 600 or 550. I don't know, 550. I think something like that.
Yeah, I think the magic number of 600 hasn't been hit yet. Funny.
I don't follow so much last time, but yeah. I would like to go one time more in South Africa to fly. Yeah? There is special flying there.
Oh, man, let's take your proto, the 2-liner C. That's going to come out.
Yeah, this will be good, I think. You don't need more, I think. For the Africa
Yeah.
style with this ground speed, you don't need better wing. The two-liner C is enough.
I was flying in Kenya last month and did a 200 in Kerio, and it was just very easy. Like
You fly on in South Africa, you fly just quite dry thermals. It's semi-desert and it's just pure dry air. Sometimes it's some little puffs appear at 6,000 meters like cumulus, but really little. If you have more humidity, you have thunderstorm for sure. It's so high radiation, sun and gradient. So it's super dry area, but super fast. It's really strong and fast. The wind gradient, it's really crazy. When you are maybe 200 meters above the ground, you still have 50 per hour wind. And then you said when you fly first to land, I said, fuck, it will kill me. And then just last 20, 30 meters, it really goes to maybe 10 kilometers or 50 kilometers behind, but not more. But when you are 200, you are still like 30 kilometers reverse. Oh, shit.
Holy shit, man.
So it's really one-way ticket, yeah. It's just one way with the wind, like balloon.
So you basically go all the way up to cloud base, which is super high, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever thousand, and then you almost bomb out and you pick up another one and then you go all the way up. Is that how it is?
Usually it's really big steps between the thermals. So you maybe glide 40 kilometers and then is another thermal, if you are lucky. Otherwise, usually was always, if you were sometimes 6,000 meters, then the next one was low save, quite sure. This was quite practice there, yeah. Maybe really, in the end of the day, you may tend to stay 4,000 meter level and just do dolphin flight and maintaining the altitude. At beginning, was usually up, again back, again up, again down to the ground. So it's, yeah,
must be nerve-wracking. That's a lot of brain work, to be honest.
Yeah, it's quite stressful. The day we flew the world record with brother, we were a group of more Slovenians, and all the rest of the guys said, we go down, it's too strong, it will kill us. And we said, no, guys, this is the day for the record. And all the rest, they went down and we flew that day. Because it was almost lenticularis in heights, was super strong. But you need that day, otherwise you will not make it. It's quite stressful, yeah. You need few days to adapt. It's not for everyone, yeah.
But why did you make any contact with your brother during the flight? Were you too far apart or not have radios?
We had radios, but the connection was not good. He was out of my sight because we takeoff is on the winch. We have only one winch because we were limited with resources, so it was one winch. Usually also the rope break many times. So after when he disconnect and before I prepare and launch was already out of the sight. What is interesting, why we met when you analyze on the end almost same spot, because your vector of choice due to the really strong wind is really limited. So you can drift only a few degrees of the optimal course. So if you want to fly maximum distance, you stay in the wind direction because your paraglider speed is too small to compensate 50 per hour wind. So you fly in this sector.
You must be jumping in joy after seeing each other for 7 hours later.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, especially me because I make few kilometers more than my brother. He was not jumping.
I bet you're the younger one then.
No. Opposite. Same year. Born. January is December, so his dominance in years is not big. Not enough.
Fair enough. No, glad that you get to share this joy with somebody so close in your family, man.
Yep.
I honestly don't want to end this episode. I feel there's a lot of time with my guests, and the conversation is so enriching and it's so nice. But since it's a podcast, there's only limited time we can devote to this cause. So for now, I think we'll put an end to this, Aljaž. But honestly, talking to you has been pretty nice, and I'm pretty sure my audience is feeling the same right now. Thanks, dude. Thanks a lot, and I can't wait to bring you back again.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation and all the best.